Hi, this is Sarah Lacey backstage with Dennis Crowley, Mr. New York Startup. So, how, on a scale 1 to 10, how painful, painless was being on stage with Mike?
It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I was a little nervous ahead of time, and we were like kind of comparing it to, getting in a ring with someone, like sparring back and forth, like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out style. But no, it was okay. It was pretty easy.
So people think of you, at least in Silicon Valley, as being, you and Fred Wilson are kind of the poster entrepreneur VCs of this scene. Do you like having that mantle, first of all? And second of all, do you like when people say, well, this is becoming the next Silicon Valley? Or do you think that's sort of selling what New York has short?
I don't mind being in the role. It's like, I think it goes hand in hand with running like a consumer-based internet company, especially like one that's about check-ins and sharing. Like, we want people to share, and I feel like we try to share as much back in terms of like mentoring or giving advice, and I kind of like it that people look up to what Foursquare has done, and it might inspire people to do that. In terms of New York becoming the next Silicon Valley, it's a different scene out here. I think one of the best things about the New York scene is that tech is like third or fourth on the list after media and advertising and fashion and finance, and it's just another thing that New York does. And I just for us, I think it was like it gives us a richer ecosystem to build and beta test with people on, just because it's just like it's a really diverse community.
Now, a couple of years ago, New York started getting all of this attention. Ron Conway, I think, was one of the first people to come out and say he was doing more deals in New York than the Valley. I think everyone has now got, even the cynics have gotten to the point where it's like, okay, this is a real ecosystem. This isn't silly Silicon Alley days. But building businesses is sort of the next step. How much pressure do you feel as a real leader of this community to prove that Foursquare isn't just a consumer phenomenon, but it's going to be a real company?
Yeah, I don't feel like we have to do it for New York. I feel like we have to do it for ourselves, right? And so, I've definitely been up and down through the .com days, and been parts of, or been a part of companies where you really weren't sure like how things were going to happen. I think with Foursquare, it's pretty clear. Like, there's a very easy path to, not easy path, but there's a very clear path to monetization. And we get to look at what Groupon and Living Social are doing, and they're out there educating merchants about like this whole new wave of tools and technology specifically for those merchants. So they're almost like warming them up for some of the stuff that we're going to be building. So I think it's going to be a little bit easier for us than it would have been maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
How many days are there that you sit around and you think, wow, maybe we should have sold? Maybe when we were at the Apex and we were raising that massive funding round.
It's I'm so confident in the team that we built and the stuff that we're building, right? And just like the user community is so super supportive of us. So there, of course, as an entrepreneur, there's good days and bad days, and days where it's like, oh my God, what are we doing? But a majority of them are like, hey, we've kind of put ourselves in this amazing position. We've got 60 people that are hustling to build the stuff that we've been dreaming about for so long. Like, we're in a really good shot to make this happen. So.
I think one reason that entrepreneurs look up to you is you always seem like you're having fun. And you always seem like a down-to-earth, like, nice guy. I mean, I follow you on Twitter. Like, you're always like going out to eat places. You're doing stuff. You're tweeting funny things. I mean, it doesn't seem like you're that stressed day in and day out. Is that a public act? Is there a dark side to Dennis Crowley?
Someone, people ask me all the time, like, how you doing? How's the job? How are things? It's like, well, like 9 to 6 or 9 to 7. It's tough. It's a really difficult job, and there's a lot going on. It's super, super stressful. But like once you leave the office and you'll be in a movie theater, you'll be at a restaurant, you'll be out to brunch, you see people using Foursquare, like that makes it all worthwhile.
Right.
And so it really balances itself out. Like for anyone that's an entrepreneur or has done startups before, it's a real roller coaster ride. Like, it's not even good days and bad days. It's like good mornings and bad mornings, and good afternoons
good 30
and bad
minutes, bad 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. And so I don't know, you just kind of roll with it and just make the most out of it.
Right. I want to ask you about timing, because timing is such an important thing that you can't control as an entrepreneur. A lot of people feel Dodgeball was way too early.
Yeah.
Foursquare kind of is interesting because in some sense, smartphones are still very nascent. You guys are a big phenomenon. 10 million users, though, smaller than some of the other big platforms we're seeing. But by the same token, now you have Groupon and Living Social rolling out. How do you think you've gotten the timing right with Foursquare? Are you late in some ways, early in some ways? I
think it's a little bit of both. I think about it just because I know the things that plagued Dodgeball, and I think, as you're saying, one of the lead things was timing. And it wasn't just that the phones weren't right. It was that people just weren't conditioned to share things online. And Twitter and Facebook have taught the world what sharing is, and we get to ride that wave a little bit. And in the same way that if we were the first ones going out there and selling to local merchants, that would be really difficult. But because folks like Groupon and Living Social have done it, we get to piggyback on that wave a little bit. So we haven't positioned ourselves in this way. Like if I wasn't, I don't know, we've just been banging our heads against the same problem for like 10 years or so, and it seems like the timing is, I don't know if it's right, but it's definitely better than it was in the past.
Right.
And so if you ask me again in a year or so, I'll probably have a little bit more insight.
Or another 30 minutes.
In another 30 minutes, yeah, exactly.
Well, hopefully this morning has been one of your up 30 minutes of the day.
This has been fun. It's fun, coming out and just getting to, see people you don't get to see that often, investors and other entrepreneurs, so it's fun.
Well, thank you so much for joining us,
yeah,
Dennis.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.